Australians buy more than 2.4 million computers each year, and it is estimated we replace around 9 million every 2 years. But what happens to the plastic, metal, glass and other materials, many of which are toxic and can leach into groundwater? In fact, e-waste has emerged as one of our biggest recycling issues. It is growing at more than 3 times the rate of general waste. To a large extent, Australia is playing catch-up on the issue, with government schemes in Europe, the US and Japan forcing action. HP, formerly Hewlett-Packard, is one company which has been developing computer recycling programs across the world for more than a decade. The company's US-based head of global sustainability has been in Australia discussing the issue with the Rudd government. I spoke with HP's John Frey. Well, John Frey, thanks for your time. Welcome to the program.
My pleasure.
Firstly, let's talk about the problem of e-waste. Now, I saw a statistic, 1.6 million computers each year will be dumped into landfill in Australia. That's a huge problem.
It is a huge problem, and the biggest part of that problem is that most of those materials can be recovered and recycled. So if they end up in a landfill, there's a lot of missed opportunity and an even bigger impact on the environment because of it.
The environmental problem, it's not just the landfill, it's also the materials inside these computers can be very environmentally damaging. What sort of things?
So lead has been used in solder, for example, over the years, and we know that lead can find its way into groundwater. Some of the other materials, like for displays, have lead in them. There's mercury in some components, and so all of those things need to not be put in a landfill in the first place, and yet many of those materials are easily recovered and recycled.
It's 1.6 million a year in Australia. Can only imagine what that figure is worldwide.
Yeah, it's a very large number worldwide, and that's why one of the things that HP's been trying to do around the globe for the past 20 years is operate recycling schemes, partners with governments to offer recycling schemes to collect those materials back. And thus far, over the last 17 years, we've brought over 1 billion pounds of material back.
£1 billion? £1
billion pounds, and over the next 3 years, we'll get another billion.
What was it that led HP into this? You say it was 20 years ago. What was it, the environmental responsibility, or was it a more greedy factor driving that initiative?
Actually, it was our customers saying, we want you to take this back at its end of life. And if you think about that time, it was the mid-'80s, and that was before many of the environmental implications were well understood. But we knew our customers expected that of a company like HP, so we started offering those services. If you go back even further, HP started offering recycling on punch cards just to recycle that paper. So it was something our customers came to expect from us.
So what is being done?
So HP offers a variety of services around the world to take back materials for recycling, and that generates, as I mentioned, over 1 billion pounds over the last 17 years. We're also working, and have been working since 1992, to design our products in the first place so that they can be recycled. So, for example, a single type of screw, not gluing it together such that it can be taken back apart. What that allows us to do is get more value out of those products when we take them back, more easily put those materials right back into new products and back into the commodities market.
Obviously HP is reaping a lot of benefits from this on a lot of levels, but and stopping a lot of damage being done, but a lot of companies aren't. A lot of companies are not putting the effort in and still doing a lot of damage. Where should the change be being driven from? Should it be government? Should it be the corporate? Should it be the market?
I think it's a partnership that involves all three, and we spent some time here in Australia with the new administration having this dialogue because the government has a role to play in fostering a need for recycling and for more efficient reuse of these materials. But at the same time, if the market forces aren't allowed to play out in that scheme, then there's not an incentive for companies to find better technologies to recycle, particularly plastics at this point. And so I think it's a partnership between all three, and with 20 years of experience doing it ourselves, we've offered our support to the administration to help them put a scheme in place that accomplishes that.
Where are you seeing, amongst your competition perhaps, where most of the change is being driven from?
Most of the change is being driven from legislative schemes in Europe, and we're starting to see some of our competitors that are starting to recognize this as a business issue, and so they're starting to put some limited programs in place. Fundamentally, though, to solve this challenge, we're going to have to solve it around the globe, not in one country or in one region, or even with one solution, because our experience has shown that some customers want convenience, some customers want low cost, some customers want value return, but it's never the same thing, so one size doesn't fit all here.
You said you've spoken with the new government in Australia. Do you feel as though enough is being done at a federal government level?
I can't say that because we're just starting that dialogue with them, and I think, quite frankly, they're trying to get their environmental priorities assigned as well. But what I was comfortable coming out of that meeting is they understand the issue. They understand the implications of the issue, and even in our short conversation, we were able to help them understand the role that we can play, the experience we can share with them in other countries, and the unintended consequences if the legislation is not written correctly.
At HP, do you do a cost-benefit analysis of this program, and how does that sit?
So we don't actually, and one of the things that we've learned over the years is recycling actually costs us money. But what we believe is by doing the things that our customers expect us to do, doing it in such a way that it protects their brand as well, so that we do that in a responsible manner, ultimately that benefits HP from a business perspective. But if you just take the recycling piece out, that actually is a cost to us.
Looking at it, it does cost you money, but where do you find you're actually deriving the greatest benefit, in what area?
Well, I think a variety. One is our material costs go down as we're able to generate more recycled materials into the commodities market. In fact, you'll find with petroleum prices climbing, all of a sudden recycled plastic is less expensive. That fosters a whole new market opportunity to get more efficient at collecting and sorting that. Another one is we've encouraged our customers to look higher than recycling in terms of reuse. And so many of the assets from your average business customer, they return them in 2 or 3 years. Those assets still have value. So the value proposition we're sharing with them is return those assets, we'll refurbish them, introduce them on the secondary market, and even return revenue back to those business customers. And so for some customers, that's a very compelling case.
You do talk about the fact that when you started doing this, the environment very much wasn't on the agenda. The last couple of years, it has moved massively into the mainstream. Do you find that that the customers are coming to you in that way?
They are. And in fact, even the parent company of your channel approached us and said, we have a set of environmental initiatives. We need HP's help in those. And so we've been working with them over the past year to help them do that. And that's been a different change. So all of a sudden, what was going on in the background and was not something that HP talked about as one of our marketing areas has instantly become that over the past year or two. The challenge, however, is to make sure that you don't jeopardize your credibility by overstating your case. So we tend to be very upfront about where we've made progress and where we have room to go still.
Yeah, there's been quite a lot of talk lately about the whole greenwashing thing in companies.
And in industry associations and to governments is to be a little bit conservative, because if you get caught up in greenwashing, particularly as marketing claims become more regulated around the globe, for example, in the U.S., the Federal Trade Commission accelerated by a year their look at green marketing claims because they were getting so out of control. I think ultimately that hurts a company's brand reputation. So we're going to tend to be conservative as a company and allow our width and long history of doing the right thing be our reputation. And if we don't market to match some of our competitors, that's okay. In the long run, we believe that benefits us.
Across the board, do you think companies like yours, well, the issue of e-waste is being managed as it should be?
Well, I think it's managed as it should be in some areas of the world, and I think we have a lot of opportunities to grow in a lot of areas in the world. For example, in the Chinese market, we've recently started offering consumer take-back there. We're not getting much product back, and so that's an example where you provide a convenient, free solution, and yet you're still not achieving the result. And so I think it really is a struggle in every market around the world and in every region, as well as with the governments, because one of the challenges, governments put barriers in place to moving these materials, once they've been recycled, back to the locations around the globe where they're needed to be used in products again. So it is a tough challenge. There's no easy answers, but we've spent 20 years working on the issue. We've got a long way to go, but we think we've made a lot of progress.
Can you say what the biggest challenges are that sit in front of you and what does need to be done about them?
Yeah, some of the biggest challenges are the logistical costs of moving to appropriate recycling operations. Even though recycling operations do exist around the world, many of them take the value that they can derive out of that stream and dispose of what's left in a way that's not very appropriate. And that's when you hear the stories about things ending up in third world markets and in villages and such. That tends to be where those come from. So I think there's a lot of room to solve some of the logistical challenges, to raise the bar on recycling institutions and set standards for what responsible recycling looks like. And so we're working with governments around the world to do just that. And we hope that in the midst of that happening, as the market gets better, there will be more value as an output, which means the more recycling capacity will happen in the world.
Things gone past the point where companies can avoid their environmental responsibilities?
Absolutely. In this day and age of the internet, companies that ignore their responsibilities are soon discovered. And with this generation of young people being the most socially conscious in 100 years, they're not going to stand for that type of behavior.
John Frey from HP, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
My pleasure.